You're going to receive some information that's going to be beneficial because the topic, we're talking about stroke awareness, stroke prevention. It affects us in many different ways, whether or not you've had a stroke directly and experienced one yourself, or maybe you are the friends or family member of someone who's experienced a stroke. Because of the commonality of it, it touches all of us. So I really want to dive into a lot of that information. So again, hopefully you get some information that's going to be beneficial for you. Now, I do these seminars on a regular basis, different topics and that sort of thing. And normally it's the topic or the actual title of the concept that I'm going to be discussing comes pretty naturally. And then I work backwards from there. This is the content, this is the topic, and then I start to build the slides and the information that supports it. This one was super challenging for me. I knew what I wanted to talk about, but I didn't know what I was going to title it. So as I'm digging around trying to come up with it, was it going to be exercise and stroke prevention or how to prevent the stroke or whatever the case might be, none of it was really clicking. And it came to mind that one of the things that I find most frustrating about all my roles when I work with patients or with physical therapy or exercise rehabilitation therapy or weight loss clients or putting together meal plans and trying to get folks to follow it, the most frustrating thing that I experience is you give out this information, you lay out the groundwork, you give the roadmap, and people don't follow it. So I said, I'm going to get a little creative this time. I'm going to change up the topic. So instead of just talking about things you shouldn't do in order to avoid experiencing a stroke, I titled this one, How to Have a Successful Stroke in 12 Simple Steps. So I'm doing something a little different, all right? So this is all going to make sense as we go forward, but that's the direction I wanted to go to. So I do see some folks in here that I have not met before, so I'm going to give a little bit of background about myself and my credentials and background. Some of you that have been in my seminars before, you already know this stuff, so just kind of bear with me. My name is Mario Kuntz. I am a physical therapist by trade. I'm also a smoking cessation specialist. I work with individuals that are looking to kick the habit, cigarette smoking now. With the prevalence of vaping, that's a big part of that too now. Exercise rehabilitation therapist, so I utilize exercise and different modalities to help people overcome illnesses, chronic injury, those sorts of things. I'm a member of the American Safety and Health Institute, adult and pediatric CPR and AED. So AED is basically the proper use of an automatic defibrillation machine. The American Safety and Health Institute, certified in the handling of bloodborne pathogens, and one of the titles that I hold most near and dear to my heart, just a gym rat. If somebody that likes to be in the gym and working out and exercise and that sort of thing. And I incorporate a lot of that into all the different fields of work that I do on a regular basis. And one of the things that I enjoy most is stuff like this, when I'm actually able to get out and share information and do seminars and workshops. So those are just some of the images of me doing presentations on different topics and programs and projects and that sort of thing. So actually getting that word out and spreading it to as many folks as possible is a big part of what I do, and that's where I get a lot of enjoyment in my overall career. One of the things I'm most proud of is back last year on June, almost a year ago now, but on June 9th, 2025, I, along with about 40 of my silver foxes we got some silver foxes in gray wolves in here, right? Show of hands. Participate in regular exercise classes. We were featured on Chicago's very own WGN Channel 9 Morning News during their morning broadcast. It was called Around Town with Anna Beneval. And some of the folks in this room right now were actually on that TV, so we got celebrities in the house. So that was really enjoyable. So that was like one of my vision board goals, and I never really put much credibility in the vision boards, but I actually had that on there, and sure enough, it came to fruition. Partner facilities. So I do work with a lot of different agencies and organizations and facilities. This is just a listing of some of those. So I've been at Madison Community Center, Chicago Heights Park District, Thornton Township Senior Center, Health on Earth Chiropractic, Epic Academy High School. Most recently developed a relationship with Rucker Athletics Fitness and Training Center with classes looking to be scheduled early June. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So whether they're classes or seminars or rehabilitation therapies and that sort of thing, it's good to keep me going. So I'm kind of all over the place. All right. Everybody has something that they tend to be good at. They have a superpower. Everyone in this room has something that they excel at. One of the things that I find that I excel at is internal and external transformations when I work with patients or clients and that sort of thing. So the image on the left of the screen. So this is a recent patient of mine. She's been wheelchair bound since February of 2025. Now, there was nothing physiologically wrong with her that would prevent her legs from working or for her standing and that sort of thing. Now, she did have some neuropathy, which basically means that the deadening of nerves. So nerves have died and that sort of thing. So there's a lack of sensation, that sort of thing. And then some overall weakness just from being in that wheelchair position. The biggest obstacle that she had was in her mind, okay? I hurt. You know, I can't really feel my feet, so my legs must not work. And it's a very powerful thing. The brain is just an amazing tool. So the brain tells you that you can or can't do something. Sure enough, you can or can't do something. So we worked together starting this year. This is 3 sessions into our work together. This was March 23rd. Got her up on her feet. Now, she hadn't taken her first step yet, but she got out of that chair and she was supporting herself. And that was a huge step in getting her to the point now where she can take steps. Now, supported. Now, she's using railings and that sort of thing, but she's not confined to that wheelchair. So working with someone, not just from the physical aspect, what I do with with physical therapy and that sort of thing, but actually finding out what's the root cause. What is preventing you from understanding that you can do this, and finding those little nuggets and really giving those what they need to flourish and grow and really propel that thought pattern so that, okay, I can do this. So I've been doing this physical therapy. I'm going to get up on my feet. And sure enough, that's what happened. So I love doing that sort of thing. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Now, I've been talking for a long time already, so it's time for a break. I'm starting my stopwatch right now. We can just sit here while the stopwatch runs its course. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're doing a break. I got it running right now. You want to verify that? Mm-hmm. It is running. Uh-huh. Listen for the beep. The beep is going to be coming up in about 13 seconds. Three, 2, 1, and wow. Now that's good timing. And we don't even know each other. All right, that time that I just ran through, that's going to make sense in just a minute. Let's move on to the next slide. These are just some general facts about stroke that I want you to understand, all right? 1 in 5 Americans are going to suffer a stroke in their lifetime. It's a known fact. Research has proven that out. Over 7,000 deaths from stroke occur in Illinois each year, okay, making it the 5th leading cause of death in this state. Stroke kills nearly 162,639 Americans every year, making it the 4th leading cause of death in the country. Okay, it's just behind heart disease, cancer, unintentional accidents, and then there's stroke. Okay, in the United States, a stroke occurs every 40 seconds. That's why I set the stopwatch. So during that time that we took that break, somebody had a stroke. Okay? And someone dies of a stroke every 4 minutes. 795,000 deaths annually. That's a lot. Okay, so those are some significant numbers in terms of just getting you the feel for how common strokes occur. Now, real quick question. Going to test some knowledge. What organ within the body does the stroke occur? Which organ within the body does the stroke occur?
Heart.
Okay, okay, it's cool. I got a nice mixture. Heart. Who says heart?
Your heart. I do.
Okay, yeah, you all remember Fred Sanford. He was always having a stroke every week, right? And he'd always clutch the heart. Who says brain?
It's the brain too.
It's the brain also? Okay, all right. Very nice. Well, let's find out what's what, shall we? The actual answer is the brain is the organ that is affected by the stroke. A stroke primarily affects the brain, okay, but the impact can extend throughout the entire nervous system, all right? It can affect the respiratory system, muscles, other organs, depending on the location and the severity of the brain injury, because make no doubt about it, a stroke is an injury to the brain. We're going to dive a little bit more. Now, don't worry about it, because the title of the slide was How to Suffer a Successful Stroke in 12 Easy Steps. We're going to get to those, but we got to do a little work to get to them, all right? We're going to do some learning stuff. What's a stroke anyway? Because there's a lot of misconceptions about exactly what a stroke. So a stroke is actually known as a brain attack, much like an interruption to blood flow to the heart is known as a heart attack. So with that, let me just shut this down. I'm sorry, thought I had this thing on mute, and usually I'm telling folks to mute their phones, and I'm the one doing it. All right, so let me pause this. Give me just a second. I'm going to make sure it is on silent, and there we go. All right. Now, where were we? Stroke is known as a brain attack. It's a sudden interruption in blood flow to the brain. And that interruption in blood flow can lead to brain damage and other serious complications. So when you see people sometimes, and like I see it on televisions, movie show, someone's had a stroke and they're going for the heart. What they actually should be doing is this. Okay, and that's actually one of the indications of a stroke, severe headache. We'll talk about some of those symptoms also, all right? Now, there are three primary types of stroke, okay? Strokes come in different forms, and three are the primary ones, all right, depending on what type of stroke the individual suffers. All right, so the first is called an ischemic stroke, all right? That's caused by a blockage within a blood vessel. Now, that can be caused by plaque dislodging and shifting, and it gets lodged within the brain. Could be caused by a blood clot. Okay, so there's different things that can result from that. The second is a hemorrhagic stroke. That's caused by bleeding within the brain. Okay, and then the third, these are known as transient ischemic attacks, or TIAs. All right, transient. These are temporary blockage of blood flow to the brain. They usually resolve themselves within a few minutes. All right. Now, even though this one is at the bottom, this one can sometimes be a little deceptive, sometimes considered to be the most dangerous. We're going to talk about why that's considered to be the most dangerous. But let's start with ischemic strokes. Those occur due to blockages in the various arteries that are caused by blood clots and also fatty deposits. Think about plaque that builds up in the arteries, right? It's usually due to the thrombus. Now, thrombus is a blood clot, a singular. Thrombi, multiple blood clots, because a person can have multiple blood clots that dislodge and travel to different arteries and create these problems. The actual formation of the blood clot is called thrombosis. So that's a process where the blood clot is actually forming within the body. And this affects active atherosclerotic plaques. Okay? So keep that in mind. Think about plaque and how it shifts and can move and cause these blockages and result in a stroke. Ischemic strokes account for roughly 87% of all strokes. So this is like the granddaddy when you're talking about strokes and what types and that sort of thing. Primary characteristics include sudden onset. That means it happens abruptly, usually without warning. Okay? Localized physical or cognitive deficits. Okay, something that affects the body or the thinking. I'm not able to think clearly. I can't process what it is that I want to do. Okay, so you start to experience that. A lot of times that's considered to be a warning sign. The second, hemorrhagic strokes. Okay? These are sudden, life-threatening medical emergencies. All right, they are life-threatening. They're caused by ruptured blood vessels within the brain. Okay, this leads to bleeding, which results in that stroke. Some common indicators include a sudden severe headache. A lot of times victims will respond by saying, this is like the worst headache I've ever had in my life. Okay, so think about that. It just feels like your head is just going to split open and explode. All right, projectile vomiting. Okay, seizures, rapid loss of consciousness. Okay, stroke victim might just fall out. Okay? So think about that when that happens. These account for approximately 10 to 15% of all stroke cases. Okay, so now we know about ischemic, we know about hemorrhagic. The third one, transient, yes. Oh, and wait, who had a question? Yes.
Projectile vomiting.
Yes. So it's a violent form of vomiting. So don't mean to be gross. Sometimes someone might vomit and it's just kind of going straight out. These come out with so much force that they're shooting out this way. Okay, that's projectile vomiting. So it's a violent form of vomiting. All right? Wow. Transient ischemic attacks. These are known as TIAs. All right? These are often called mini strokes. All right? Why is that? Because blood flow to the brain is blocked only for a short time. Usually resolves itself within about 5 minutes or so. Okay? Mini strokes. You might have even heard that term before. These are also sudden onset, which means that they occur promptly, usually without warning. Symptoms begin abruptly. It mimics the actions of a full-blown stroke. So a lot of times it's misdiagnosed. You don't realize that you're actually having a mini stroke, and it feels like it's a regular stroke, right? They typically resolve themselves within a few minutes to an hour, all right? Some common features: facial drooping. Okay? The muscles in the face start to relax, and you start to see that sliding look, almost like the face is melting on one side. Okay? Weakness or numbness, usually on one side of the body, left or right. That's another one. Okay? Slurred speech. Okay? Vision loss, sometimes double vision, is another common occurrence. And sudden loss of balance. You can't keep yourself upright. Okay? TIAs precede roughly 10 to 15% of all diagnosed major strokes that occur in victims. Okay? Now, you might have recalled that I said that this is considered, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous. Why do you think that would be?
People ignore it, you ignore it.
You ignore it, right? Because it's symptomatic for a few minutes. 5 minutes, I've got this headache, I'm feeling all these symptoms, and 5 minutes later, okay, I'm good. All right, so you don't seek treatment. I feel fine now. Why would I go to the doctor? Waste time going to the emergency room or calling my personal physician. Okay? That's why it's considered to be one of the most dangerous. And go ahead. Go ahead.
The facial drooping, how is that different from the common features from Bell's palsy?
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
So, and in fact, if you wouldn't mind, let's hold questions to the end, because I got a whole section for that where we can address whatever, but I appreciate that. All right, so now that we know about the types of stroke, we need to know how it actually affects the brain, because once again, that's the organ that is directly affected by a stroke, all right? So, this is a diagram of a human brain. So it's divided into lobes, and then there's also a brainstem and a cerebellum. So let's starting here. This is the temporal lobe here at the bottom in the blue, the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, cerebellum, and then the brainstem. Brainstem connects directly into the spinal cord. So we're going to talk about because a stroke affects each and every one of those parts of the brain. It's just a matter of how severely it affects and what type of injury is resulting from that. So let's start with the very front. The first one that I mentioned, the frontal lobe. Now that's considered to be the boss of the brain. All right, why is it? Because it controls our behavior, our emotions, our ability to pay attention, okay? Planning, organizing, decision making, problem solving, memory, okay? That's why it's called the boss. Okay? It initiates the swallowing function. That's why a lot of times stroke victims will have difficulty swallowing. And that's why a lot of times in hospitals, you'll see that stroke victims are listed as choke risks. Okay? So there's a reason behind that. It helps us to get our words out. Okay? There's something called Broca's area. And basically that allows us to process the things that we want to say. So one of the most frustrating things that stroke victims experience, I know what I want to say, but I can't get it out. Okay? And it's very frustrating for someone that's experienced that. All right? So that's how it affects that's the frontal lobe. That's what it does. Now, how does the stroke actually affect that? That's key. All right? Executive functioning deficits are a side effect of stroke occurrence in these individuals that have strokes that affect the frontal lobe. That's a set of mental skills. Consider an air traffic control system at an airport, right? This plane goes here, this one goes there, this one takes off on the run. It's directing traffic, right? In the brain, it helps you to manage tasks. It allows you to regulate emotions and achieve goals. Okay, so those are considered to be executive level functioning. Dysphagia, that's difficulty swallowing foods, liquids, or even saliva. Okay, it may require reminders. What do I mean by that? So if you're caring for an individual that suffered a stroke, and they're having a meal, you remember to swallow, remember to chew. Okay, that sort of thing. You take a sip, remember to swallow, because that part of that brain is affected by it. I don't remember that I have to swallow. Okay? Let's see. Expressive aphasia. That's a language disorder where a person knows exactly what they want to say, but they struggle to say it. They can't get it out. Okay? So those are some of the effects of a stroke on the frontal lobe of the brain. The temporal lobe, that oversees language and learning. Okay? Listening. And not just listening, because a big part of listening is processing what you hear. Okay, so if that's affected, that has a direct impact on just our overall ability to function on a normal basis. Language, emotion regulation. A lot of times stroke victims are all over the place. They're angry, they're sad, they're excited. You know, that part of the brain has been affected to the point where it's not functioning properly. And then short-term memory. Okay, something just happened. You know, I just saw this on the news, and then 2 minutes later, what was that news report about? I don't even remember. Okay, short-term memory loss. That's a big one. How does a stroke affect the temporal lobe? Aphasia, okay, word finding and processing, parts of language, so you may forget certain words and what they mean. Okay? Forming complete sentences, reading, conversation, comprehension, facial recognition. I see the person there, I know it's somebody that I should know, but I don't know who that is. Okay? Those are parts of what happens when the temporal lobe is impacted by a stroke. Okay? The parietal lobe. You see that highlighted in green right here. That's integrating sensory information, okay, your environment, the stimulation that is going on around you, all right? Spatial awareness, distance, so I can tell that that book is probably about 3 feet away from me. That kind of stuff, right? Proprioception, that is your body's awareness of where it is in space. So I could stand here, I can close my eyes, and I know that, you know, there's a desk right in front of me. To my right, there's a table with about 4 or 5 books on it, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I know where I am. When that's affected, it is disastrous because you just, you know, it's like you're just floating. You know, so the phenomenon is incredible. It also helps to regulate touch, temperature, and pain. A lot of times stroke victims can touch a hot surface and not feel a thing. Okay? All right? Where they should be cold. You know, maybe it's 20 degrees below and they're not feeling any of it. Still damaging the tissue, but you know, you're not actually feeling it. Plays a crucial role in math and language comprehension, numbers and symbols. Okay, you lose the ability to recognize those on a regular basis. Okay? Parietal lobe. How does a stroke affect that? So there's something called dyscalculia. That is when an individual experiences mathematical difficulties. Okay? 3 times 3 is, I can't. And you know, off the top of it, you know, normally you'd be able to spit that out, no problem, right? Apraxia, that's loss of a person's ability to execute purposeful, learned movements, even though they understand the command and they possess the physical ability to do it. Simple example, I work with physical therapy individuals that, you know, have suffered a stroke. And one of the goals that we might have for the day is to raise their right hand, okay? They know in their mind, okay, all I got to do to raise my hand is activate these muscles and I'm just reaching up. But I can't make my body do it. Again, it's right on par in terms of frustration level with not being able to express yourself and get your words out. I mean, just think about that for me. You want to raise your hand, but you just can't do it. And that's how the parietal lobe is affected by a stroke, all right? Let's see, agraphia, writing difficulties. You know, not able to write, no, maybe you're excellent at writing in cursive or whatever the case. Just suddenly lose that ability as a result of a stroke. Alexia, reading difficulties, and then something called left-right neglect. So with that, when an individual experiences left-right neglect, one side, it usually affects the left hemisphere of the brain. So I'm not able to process sensory inputs on that side of the body. Okay? And it could occur on the right side also. Okay, so those are some of the ways that the parietal lobe is impacted by that stroke. The occipital lobe, it's the next one I want to talk about. You see that right there in the back of the brain. That affects vision. The occipital lobe is basically the visual processing center of the brain. Okay, vision, it takes raw sensory data sent from your eyes and it decodes it. Okay, so I can look at a book. And the minute I look at it, I know what a book is. I know it's got pages, and there's words on the page, and there's an index, and there's all that sort of thing. But when that is affected, you know, there's something in front of me. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I don't register exactly what that book is and what it contains and what its purpose is. Okay? So just seeing something is only part of it. It just happens so fast you don't recognize it. Okay? You see a book, you know what a book is. Okay? It allows you to recognize shapes, colors, faces, and understanding what you are actually seeing in your environment. Okay? So significant impact when the brain is affected by a stroke and the occipital lobe is directly affected. How a stroke actually, how the stroke affects it. Visual field cuts, so I can only see like half of what's going on. So it's almost like if I take my hand and then close my left eye, it's kind of like that. Okay? My field of vision is obstructed. Hallucinations or distortions, I'm seeing things that aren't actually there. Or I'm seeing it, but it looks like it's wavy. You know how you look at when it's real hot outside and you look and you kind of get those heat waves in it? It's kind of like that in some cases. Bouts of vertigo and dizziness, okay, which results in what? Loss of balance, right? A lot of negative effects with that. The brain stem, that's also affected. You see the brain stem highlighted here in the green, connects to the spinal cord here. That's kind of the body's autopilot. It controls all the body's vital life functions, the stuff that you don't even have to think about doing. Okay, so breathing. Okay, nobody have to remind yourself to breathe, right? Your heart rate, blood pressure, sleep, and alertness. These are all functions that happen automatically, and they occur within the brainstem. Reflexes and nerves. Things like swallowing, sneezing, coughing, vomiting, basic facial movements, and eye movements. These are all affected by that. This is the relay station. It passes vital motor and sensory signals back and forth between the brain, okay, during your everyday life, all right, and the rest of the body. Okay, so that's what the brainstem is controlling, those autonomic controls. And it's affected by stroke. Again, now you'll see some crossover in terms of impact with stroke and that sort of thing. So dysphagia, okay, breathing and swallowing, okay, incoordination. It's a big part of that. Difficulty remaining awake or falling asleep. Okay. Something called dysarthria, weak or paralyzed or poorly coordinated muscles in the lips, the tongue, the vocal cords, or the diaphragm. All those affect speech directly. Okay. Some of the indicators you see or notice: slurred, slow, or difficult to understand speech. Last up, the cerebellum, right here at the base of the brain, that coordinates all your voluntary movements. The cerebellum is often referred to as the coordinator. Okay? It helps you to maintain balance and posture, helps you to engage in motor learning, ensures that movements like walking, speaking, and playing sports are fluid and precise and smooth. Okay? That's where that control portion of that coordination term that's associated with cerebellum is going for. All right? How it's affected by a stroke? Gait. Okay? Now, what is gait? A lot of people, well, what is gait? Was that like stride or whatever? You know, most people know it has to do with the way that you walk, right? So it's basically the specific manner, pattern, or style of walking or running that an individual has. Okay? That's why I recognize that walk anywhere. That's that person's gait. All right? Slurred speech, tremors, facial and body weakness. All affected when the cerebellum is impacted by stroke. Now, there are some warning signs. All right, although a lot of these happen without warning, right? There are some warning signs that we need to pay attention to when we're talking about stroke. And they are different from men and women, which is interesting. Okay? So with women, let's start off with the ladies. Early signs of a stroke in women often include classic symptoms like the sudden facial drooping, okay, arm weakness, slurred speech. Those are like the big three. Okay? Women are also more likely to experience subtle, non-traditional warning signs, so things that aren't quite as common, like sudden confusion, disorientation. Okay? Where am I? What's going on? Just kind of out of it, right? Severe headaches, unexplained nausea, fatigue, or chest pain. Those are some of the symptoms that are most often associated with women when they are experiencing stroke symptoms, as opposed to men, where early signs of a stroke, wait a minute, didn't change, did it? Let's try it again. There we go. All right, early signs of a stroke in men usually appear suddenly, and they include things like facial drooping. All right, so we got some crossover there, right? Arm weakness, slurred speech. Men can also have sudden changes in vision, a loss of balance, or a severe unexplained headache. Okay, you're feeling fine a second ago, now I got this crazy painful headache. Okay? Rapid changes in mood or personality, lashing out, for example. Okay? Issues with cognitive skills or cognitive ability. You know, I can't figure this out, and this is a simple thing. What's going on? All right? Temporary loss of muscle movement. A lot of times they're just involuntary. The arm is just kind of going, and I can't control it. You know, this is not normal. All right? Failing memory. Okay? And then a sudden lack of balance. Okay? Stroke victims in men typically known to just kind of fall over. Okay? Especially if they're trying to navigate steps and that sort of thing. Balance is a huge issue when it comes to that. So those are some of the warning signs in men. For both men and women, the best way to manage that is, and some folks may even be familiar with this, there's something called the Be Fast acronym. Okay? And how that works is very simple. These allow you to spot the signs of a stroke, you know, early on, because early treatment is key in stroke. The longer you go without treatment, the more there's a decline or a deficit in the ability of an individual to recover. Okay? So, be fast if you suspect a stroke. Treatments are most effective when given shortly after the onset. Learn the warning signs and act quickly if you notice any of these symptoms. Let's start with B. All right, so B is balance. Any loss of balance, a headache, or dizziness. That's the B. The E in that, eyes, if you have blurred vision. Okay, that's another sign. So look for these not just in yourself, but in anyone that might be close to you, or a loved one and that sort of thing. If they start to complain of these things, might be an indication that it could be suffering the onset of a stroke. F, look for the face. One side of the face is drooped. Could be left or right. A, arms. Arm or leg weakness. Okay. Speech is the S. Any difficulty speaking, getting out your words, slurred speech, that's another big one. You start to see these things, it's time to call for an ambulance immediately. Don't waste time on this. And don't second guess yourself, well, maybe it's not a stroke. Don't screw around with it. Get that person medical attention ASAP, all right? It's better to err on the side of caution when it comes to stroke. Now, here's an interesting fact. As I'm digging through and getting research ready and coming up with slides and deciding what kind of content I'm going to pick up, up to 80% of strokes are classified as preventable. All right. Similarly, up to 80% of all chronic diseases and premature deaths are considered completely preventable. So, now, what exactly that means, I don't know. But I just thought it was interesting, because I've actually done presentation where I talk about chronic disease management and that sort of thing, and I've used that 80% number. But I never knew that it was the same for strokes. 80% of them are preventable. And what do you think one of the key factors in preventing strokes might be?
Check right away the vitals. Check your vitals.
Okay, we're actually going to talk about that. Close, yes.
Elevated blood pressure.
Blood pressure is a good one. Yep.
Take blood thinners if necessary.
If it's prescribed, right, to help to break up clots and that sort of thing. Yep. So when we're talking about being preventable, basically what I'm talking about are lifestyle changes. Okay? The foods that we eat, the stress that we expose ourselves to, the excessive alcohol consumption, those sorts of things. Salty foods, snacks, ultra-processed foods. We're going to talk about all that stuff, all right? So lifestyle changes is why I mentioned that, okay? Now, we got to, no worries. We got to that point where I said I want to start to share with you how you can ensure that you're going to have a successful stroke. So let's start with that first one, okay? I skipped over one, and here we go. All right. Somebody just mentioned vitals, right? So if you're looking to have a successful stroke, one of the things that you want to do is completely ignore your vitals. Forget about them, right? Blood pressure, who needs that? Who needs to know what that number is? High blood pressure is the leading cause of a stroke, right? You never want to regularly monitor your blood pressure or collaborate with your health care professional or provider in order to keep it at a healthy range. Ideally, 120/80. mmHg is milligrams of mercury. Okay, so that's like the ideal blood pressure. So if you're looking to manage your blood pressure and keep it here, you're really screwing up your chances of having a stroke. Okay? Cholesterol and blood sugar. Never manage your cholesterol or levels or screen for diabetes. Why? Because high blood sugar can damage blood vessels over time, increasing your likelihood of a stroke. Okay? So if you're looking to have one, ignore cholesterol, blood sugar, throw it out the window. Don't worry about it. Heart health, arterial fibrillation. Okay, what exactly is that? That's an irregular heartbeat. Okay, arrhythmia. All right, the heart is normally supposed to be do-dum, do-dum. People that suffer arterial fibrillation or arrhythmia, do-dum, do-dum, it's kind of all over. It's not steady. You can see it on a device when you're hooked up to a heart monitor and that sort of thing. It'll tell you what's going on. All right. It significantly raises your risk of blood clots. Okay. Do not consult a doctor if you suspect any arrhythmia, which is that irregular heartbeat, as you may require medication or blood thinners. Okay. So ignore all that stuff if you want to have that stroke. Okay. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, establish or maintain poor eating habits. You do that, you are well on your way to experiencing that stroke. Starting with diet. Do not follow a heart-healthy diet. Do not follow a balanced diet. Okay? For example, things like the Mediterranean diet. That emphasizes the consumption of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, lean proteins. That's going to decrease your risk. Okay? You're not hitting the target. Okay? You want to increase your intake of salt, saturated fats, trans fats, added sugar. Take them. Eat them all up. Hey, if you're looking to have that stroke, that's what you got to do. You got to put in the work. This ain't going to come easy. You got to work at it, man. That's why I got that image there. See that says heart healthy diet? Big red X through it. Successful stroke strategies number 3. Avoid regular exercise at all costs. In fact, you want to go a step further. Adopt a sedentary lifestyle. Become a couch potato. That'll do it for you. All right? As far as exercise goes, do not incorporate at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise or physical activity, things like brisk walking on 5 or more days out of the week. I don't know what these people are trying to do, but they definitely ain't doing things right if they're trying to have a stroke. All right? Exercise also helps to reduce stress. It's another big impact. It strengthens bones. It helps with balance, coordination, cardiovascular benefits. Think heart and lungs working together and becoming stronger and developing. Okay? Want to avoid all that if you're trying to have that stroke. Number 4, let your weight rise like gas prices. Forget about weight management. You want to forget about maintaining a healthy body mass index. Okay? So BMI, anything above 30 is considered to be the goal. So you want to have a nice high BMI, plenty of fat, very little muscle. All right? Remember, central obesity. And what is central obesity? That is that fat that develops around the midsection. Excess weight around your midsection. That's closely linked to higher cholesterol, blood pressure, and stroke risk. So if you're looking to have one, let that belly shine. Stroke tip number 5. Oh, you know what? I had something for you right here. Yes! Come on now. Yeah, give me just a second. I had something special for all of you. Okay, let's see where we're at. Hold on just a second. And we are going to, let me see here. Give me just a second. I had this one all pulled up for you.
He's got to stop while they smoke a cigarette. If you smoke yourself to death, they'll say, here's the golden gate that you hate to make you wait. You've got to have another cigarette. And it gave a chance the other night.
Smoke! Smoke that cigarette. Okay? You want to light up and take in that, secondhand smoke is excellent. It's free. Don't cost you anything. So if you don't, cigarettes are pretty expensive, right? Cost too much? Hey, man, get that secondhand smoke. You don't have to pay a dime for it. So find yourself a smoker and follow them around. Smoking promotes plaque buildup in the arteries, and it increases stroke risk by, in many cases, anywhere from 2 to 4 times. So you can really elevate your stroke risk by taking in cigarette smoke. Okay, whether it's secondhand or you're doing it directly. Yes.
What about weed?
I got some thought. Okay, I did say we were going to hold our question to the end, but I'm going to address this one real quick. This is specifically my opinion. All right. Although marijuana consumption has been legalized in this state and many others, okay, it's not as taboo as it once was. In my opinion, smoke and the lungs do not mix.
No matter what kind of smoke.
Why do you think weed smokers sometimes cough and the body's reacting to that? It's smoke. It's not a substance that's natural to the lungs. Okay? So if you want to have a negative effect on the cardiorespiratory system, smoke. Weed will do the same thing. So like I said, even though it is legal and I guess it's acceptable now, I wouldn't promote it, and I definitely don't recommend it, especially in folks that have chronic health conditions. Okay? So that's my opinion. Let's see. Where are we at? Stroke tip number 6. Drink up. Alcohol. You want to forget about limiting your consumption to a maximum of 1 drink per day for women and 2 drinks per day for men. Forget about all that. Heavy alcohol consumption significantly increases your risk of both ischemic and hemorrhagic strokes. Okay? So that alcohol, that's going to boost your chances. If you're looking to have that stroke, pour a glass. Sleep. Adequate sleep. That's for suckers. Forget about all that. Right? Lack of sleep is going to significantly increase your risk of a stroke. Okay? Research shows that people who regularly sleep less than 5 to 6 hours a night have a significantly higher risk of stroke compared to those who get the recommended 7 to 9. It's a fact. Okay? You can look at research paper after research paper. It's been proven time and time again. Some studies even suggest that sleeping less than 5 hours per night triples the likelihood of a stroke. So party all night. Absolutely. Stress more. That's stroke tip number 8. Chronic stress. Okay? What can that do to you? It can spike your blood pressure. You want to avoid stress-relieving habits like meditation or stretching or therapy in your daily routine. Okay? Now, I screw up my opportunity to have that stroke because a lot of times I'll just go fishing. And I'll just sit by the lake. You know, I'm just watching the waves. It's just so calming. But I'm screwing up my chances of having a stroke. That's the only thing about that, right? Now, I understand some stress is very difficult to control because it's something that directly impacts you that you really don't have a lot of control over. Maybe you got a boss that's driving you crazy, or the kids are always needing something, one thing after another, or you're worried about what's going on in Congress or the president, you know, all those sorts of things, okay? Some people I know stress about the weather. What are you stressing about that for? What can you do to change that? Right? But it happens. So the best thing is to find the things that you can control and moderate them if you're not able to totally eliminate them. But you do want to get a chance to take control of your stressors. What's affecting you? What stresses you out? Because when you do that, you're actually diminishing those stress levels. Okay? But when that happens, you're, again, decreasing your chance of experiencing that successful stroke. Persistent stress causes a prolonged release of cortisol, which is also known as the stress hormone, and adrenaline. Okay, this is going to spike your blood pressure. It's going to increase inflammation. It's going to promote blood flow formation, which is, again, if you go back to that previous slide, thrombosis. Okay? Often leads to unhealthy habits like smoking and poor diet. How does that happen? Well, what do a lot of people, smokers, say they do when they're stressed out? They want to have a cigarette, right? What do drinkers do when they're stressed out? They want to have a drink. Yeah? You ever hear the term, I'm a stress eater? Okay, so these are all side effects of that. So stress leads to these unhealthy habits, and that in turn increases the risk of experiencing a stroke. So these things kind of work in conjunction with one another. Stroke tip number 9, become unfamiliar with your family health history. I underline the word unfamiliar for a reason. because heredity does play a role in this. A family history of stroke increases your personal risk by roughly 30 to 40%. Okay? Especially if it's the first degree relative that had a stroke before the age of 65. We're talking about like parents. Okay? Okay? Heredity risk is a complex mix of several things. For example, direct genetic conditions. Okay? My mom had this, so most likely I'm going to have that kind of thing. Shared environments. Okay? So maybe we grew up in an area where there's a lot of smog, and LA, for example. Okay? Inherited predispositions to risk factors like high blood pressure and diabetes. So if mom or pop had a certain condition like that, diabetes, high blood pressure, it's good to get checked out because you may be in line for that. Certain conditions are passed down. I love this phrase. Our genes load the gun. Our lifestyle, and I misspelled that, pulls the trigger. Yeah, it shouldn't say plus. So I'm going to go over that again. Our genes load the gun. Okay, so if you're dealing with a condition that might be hereditary, okay, it's not a whole lot you can do about that. Okay, you were born into the family you were born into. So you got that. But why make it worse by, eating tons of ultra-processed foods, or smoking, or drinking, or any of those habits that we've already gone through that can exacerbate the likelihood of experiencing a stroke? Okay? So it's not a death sentence that a parent or has a chronic condition. There's things you can do to manage it. So don't just figure, oh, they got it, I'm going to get it. It's just, it's something that I can't do anything about. Not necessarily the case. Successful stroke tip number 10. Incorporate plenty of processed and ultra-processed foods. And I mean plenty. Ultra-processed foods, these are also known as UPFs. They're linked to cardiometabolic diseases and neurologic outcomes, things like cognitive decline and stroke. Okay? That's why now you're seeing this big push to eliminate things like red 40, yellow 6, out of these chips and that kind of stuff. And these kids, the way that it's almost diabolical and devious the way this stuff is promoted, especially the kids. Like these Takis, these Flamin' Hots, just the worst stuff in the world. And that's why you're seeing a lot, because I work in schools a lot of times too, and I see the effects of it. These kids can't pay attention for more than 5 minutes. Bouncing all over the place. Okay? A lot of negative effects with that kind of stuff. Ultra-processed foods are also high in added fat, sugar, salt. They're low in protein and fiber, just about zero nutritional value. Now, do they taste good? Yeah, sure they do. Okay, but there's a price to pay for that good taste. They often include soft drinks. And yes, things like 0 calories, 0 sugar, diet Cokes or Pepsis, that falls under that blanket too. All right? Food manufacturers ain't going to put something on the shelves that's not going to taste like crap. Why would they? They want to make money. Okay? Sugary snacks. Ice cream, hamburgers, canned baked beans, ketchup, mayo, packaged breads, and flavored cereals. I know I'm talking about all the good stuff, right? Now, and the big part of that is the way that we get started with this stuff. So just look at the last one, flavored cereals. I couldn't watch a Saturday morning cartoon without seeing an advertisement. They used to call them sugar pops back then. Sugar smacks. They had sugar right in the title. They told you. And, they would let you know right away what you're eating. Your Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms, and Frosted Flakes is basically a cornflake that's been drowned in sugar. Right? Yeah. Okay. So we start off on this path. And there's a reason for it, because if I can get you hooked young, man, I got you. So there's a whole scheme behind that. So if you're looking to accomplish that stroke, all those things that I mentioned there, eat up.
We can have a little something.
Oh, you can have something. All right. Now, here's another one. Now, this is often overlooked. This isn't one of the more common ones that you hear about. Ignore your oral hygiene if you're looking to experience a stroke. Forget about it. Okay? Dental health. Poor oral hygiene is one of the main risk factors associated with higher risks of stroke. Yes, your teeth can tell the tale. And why is that? Because oral bacteria can enter the bloodstream. Okay, so when you get bacteria on the teeth, it goes, you swallow that down, it gets into the bloodstream. Okay, it can cause inflammation of the blood vessels. And what happens when a blood vessel becomes inflamed? It can burst, right? And we already talked about bleeding within the brain when we discussed hemorrhagic strokes, right? This inflammation can then lead to blood clots, which can block the flow of blood to the brain and cause a stroke. So, looking to have that stroke, just get a set of teeth that look like that. I tried to find the nastiest looking mouth image I could. Did I succeed? Absolutely. Successful stroke tip number 12. If you've previously had a stroke, okay, not understanding why is key to experiencing another. Okay? So if you had a stroke and you don't exactly know why, you can't put your finger on what could have been the cause of it specifically, you're well on your way to stroke number 2 or 3 in some cases. Secondary or tertiary strokes. Nearly 1 in 4, this is about, it equates to about 23% of stroke survivors, will experience a second stroke. Okay? Now, again, I see this a lot of times and it is so frustrating. When I have a PT patient and they suffered a stroke and they've come to me because they're doing rehab and they're looking to get back on their feet and that sort of thing. And I'll go through a lifestyle questionnaire. And one of those questions is always, do you smoke? Yeah, smoke. And a lot of times it's, serious smoking, like multiple packs a day. You had a stroke and you're still smoking like that? And I'm not making this up. I see this all the time, and it's just, it's difficult to comprehend, and it's almost sad. It really is. Absolutely. Now, while the risk is highest immediately after the first incident, that's your highest portion of risk, all right? And that's usually within about the first 90 days. Okay? That's when your risk of a secondary stroke is the highest, all right? And the number actually decreases after the second stroke. Okay? So up to 78% of secondary strokes, however, can be prevented by lifestyle changes. A lot of those things that we talked about going forward. Okay? So it's not just a foregone conclusion that I've had one stroke, most likely I'm going to have another one. Okay? You can get on top of this thing. Now, one of the things that I'd also like to discuss when it comes to stroke. Now, just by show of hands, if you've experienced a stroke or been or are close to someone that has experienced a stroke, just show of hands. Okay, those of you with, I think we just got everybody in the room with their hands up. That just lets you know how common, stroke survivors too, right? So one of the things that with stroke that is so significant and so important when I'm discussing this topic or working with individuals is recognizing, again, those symptoms and those signs, because a lot of times the things that you see when it comes to a person experiencing a stroke is typically not a surprise in a lot of cases. Now, in some cases, it's okay. We don't know where this came out. It just came out of the clear blue. Most instances, it's not. Okay? There's usually a roadmap. Okay, you look at the way that lifestyle. You look at the way that a person eats. You look at how physically active they are. Are they over consumers of alcohol? Okay, do they smoke? All those sorts of things lead up to it. And the biggest factor that prevents folks from stopping that is, I've done this all my life and I'm fine. Right? They start to think, oh, I'm the one instance or the individual where this is, I'm invulnerable. This isn't going to affect me. I can continue doing it. I haven't had a problem yet. Okay? You don't know that until it actually happens. And strokes are not fun to experience. I see it all the time. Just imagine, because all you are able-bodied, walked in here under your own power, to lose that ability to do things. And I'm assuming that a lot of you enjoy independence. To go from that to a point where when I'm going into these facilities and that sort of thing, they need somebody to feed them. They need somebody to wipe them. They need somebody to clean up for them. They need somebody to hand them things. You know, they want to go look out a window. They can't get up and do it. You know, that lifestyle has been depleted to the point where, you know, a lot of times stroke victims are suicidal. And I gotta say that I can understand why. Because when you lose that independence, especially when it's something that I could have prevented, that's the worst. So I encourage you, when you're talking about, you know, managing your risk and that sort of thing, all those simple things, and I joked around about them, but I'm very serious about the importance of incorporating that into your everyday life. You know, the exercise, the changing the eating habits, you know, the awareness. You know, in a lot of cases, it's not that difficult to find out, well, what's my heredity? Did grandma or grandpa, did mom or dad ever suffer from this disease or whatever the case might be? Might just take a few phone calls and that sort of thing. But you want to get a hold of it early, okay? Now, can you come back from a stroke? Obviously, absolutely you can. But why have to go through that journey when you don't necessarily have to? Okay, why not prevent it in the first place? So I encourage you, if you fall within any of those categories where you know you got to clean up some aspect of your life, get on top of it now. You know, why wait? Why put it off?
Mama,
Yes.
I suffered stroke because I had my son.
Okay. All right. So this is a postnatal stroke.
They said it was the baby's placenta.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes pregnancy can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
So I suffered the stroke and I had diabetes
Okay.
that came with the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, by you said staying active, it has improved a lot.
Good.
You
Good.
know, you see your body mass.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
It's getting better and better.
And when she said body mass, we're talking about body mass index, which is basically a percentage of lean muscle mass to fat tissue within the body. All right.
He's 26.
Okay. All right.
So he put me through a lot to get him here, but he here.
Well, good, good. All right. Now, this session has actually been recorded. I post a lot of health and wellness information on my sites. You know, I utilize social media quite a bit. I use Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Steve is going to cut this up into different segments and that sort of thing, so you can look for that. The library has actually gone through and picked out some books on stroke prevention and management, things on diet and that sort of thing. Those are available for checkout. So keep that in mind also. Yes?
I used to ride a bicycle a lot for exercise.
Okay.
And then my doctors told me not to ride the bicycle because they're afraid I'll fall. So I got an adult tricycle.
Okay. Okay. And it still requires you to pedal. You just got 3 wheels on it. Oh, man, those...
I have
Listen.
to watch out I don't make fast corner.
Okay.
Because I can flip. But as long as I don't take a fast corner, it has a handbrake and it has several gears.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, listen, I've got friends that are in like these biking clubs. And a lot of them are never suffered a stroke, able-bodied, but they got the 3-wheelers, and they got them all decked out with the lights and the sign. But no, those are fantastic, and you're still getting exercise because you got to power that thing by pedaling it. So the only difference is you got a little more balance because you got that 3rd wheel on it. So yeah, there was a reason why the doctor said he wanted you to get off the 2-wheel bike and on, but you're on the 3, so keep that up. Keep that up. Others, yes. Now, how was you?
I thought you looked at somebody else.
No, I was looking right at you. Well, hold on a second. Yes.
My little brother, he's diabetic. Lately, he's been talking about he's not getting enough sleep. Now, he's a bus driver at CTA.
Okay.
And his mornings, he got to be there at 4:30. He's just off about 12:30. But I've been kind of concerned about with him because at one point he was doing real well with his diabetes. Then all of a sudden he kind of went off on it. And he gained a lot of weight, even though he's still taking his metformin, whatever they call that stuff. But the thing of it is, he's been eating a lot of junk stuff. And like I said, then he had just recently told me that he's not really sleeping very well.
Okay, so
I'm concerned about that regarding stroke.
I don't know how else to say it, but absolutely it should be. He's got a lot of mitigating factors. Stressful job. Driving a CTA bus is stressful. Okay, if you've ever known anybody that's a driver for CTA or Metro or Pace or whatever, it's a very stressful job. Irregular hours. You mentioned that. Okay, so he's getting off at what time?
At 12:30, he starts at 4:30 in the morning.
a.m. and he's off at 12:30. All right, so the body just adjusting to trying to go to sleep during full daylight, that's a challenge in itself. So you got the sleep. Because of the irregular working hours and that sort of thing, maybe doesn't have a lot of time at home to prepare meals and that sort of thing. So the most convenient thing is to grab something quick. And usually what's something quick is highly processed or ultra processed. So that's going to affect the nutritional habits. So he's got a lot of stuff working against him. Starting with the food. I can give you some things that I do, or I would suggest. Have him get in the habit of bringing his meals with him. One of the things that I do, because I drive around a lot, so the little cooler I keep in my trunk is my best friend. So I have my own food, I got my little cooler in there, because I know that when I get hungry, if I don't have anything with me, I'm going to go to what's quick. And that ain't never going to be anything good for me, all right? So it's more convenient for me to have the food ready. I'll pull into a gas station in a minute. You mind if I use your microwave? And I'll heat up my food that way. And I've yet to have somebody tell me no, okay? Or when I get to my destination, if I got a little time or whatever, I'll eat there. But left to my own devices, I know I'm going to screw that up. So I have to understand, where I'm going to be weak at. The sleeping habits, that's going to be a little more challenging. He's got to find some kind of balance in terms of that. So if it is where he's affected by, it's daylight, it's hard for me to wind down and that sort of thing, make sure the room is as dark as possible. Get off the phone, no TV, that kind of thing. Just to kind of desensitize yourself to, all those external stimuli to help him kind of relax and that sort of thing. But yeah, getting that weight under control is going to be a big one too, because you said he picked up, weight.
Yeah, he was doing so good at one point.
Yeah. Even if he has, any breaks in between his route where he can, pull over or get to a bus depot or terminal or whatever and get a little exercise in. Maybe keep a couple pair of dumbbells or some resistance bands in the bus with him.
I used to tease him all the time. Well, I ain't teasing him, but I used to, because
No, you're a sister. I got an older sister. She teased me all the time.
well, his job, he can walk to the bus bar, and it's so big and huge. And I told him, I said, just walk it.
Yeah.
Just walk it, but he started doing it in the beginning, but then he slacked off.
Okay. The last thing I would say is find out or have him kind of investigate, well, why is it that I've fallen off?
Yeah.
Why am I not moving as much? What's the real reason behind me eating this crappy food? And then kind of, determine from there, okay, I know I'm doing this because of that, so I need to make this adjustment. And a self-assessment.
Yeah.
Yep.
He had the bus turn around, you can get a partner to walk with him.
Or you?
Absolutely.
But he's in Chicago, I'm out here.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Or better yet, if he's able to get out of that terminal area, because fumes from buses are horrendous.
Yeah.
So if he can get out and get a little bit of fresh air, all the better.
I gave him a dog. It was my dog. And the dog had only weighed was 15 pounds. He's a Chihuahua mixed with another dog. Now he's 25 pounds. And I'm like, no.
So he's not going on walks.
No.
Now,
He did in the beginning.
he's what kind of dog?
He's a Chihuahua.
I didn't think Chihuahuas could get 25 pounds.
They want to
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. So, but seriously, best of luck to your brother, and I would really have him start with some of those things. Absolutely. And then, like I said, I got my information up here. Oh, and also, so if you want to have him reach out to me, or you want to, or whatever, I'd be happy to give him some tips and strategies you can use to kind of clean up the lifestyle habits a little bit. Yes.
Can I add something to, maybe you can ask your brother, I don't know if he has a spouse or whatever, but if he sleeps alone, do he know he snores? Because
The dog sleeps.
but what I'm trying to say is he could be developing
Sleep apnea.
And I thought about
Because
that.
if he's sleepy during the day, that could be it. So he probably would want to pay attention to that, download this particular app that will listen to him as he's sleeping. And because if that's it, that could be an issue too, because he's not getting any sleep. And then I wanted to go back to the comment, the first slide, I think I saw, about the Bell's palsy. What makes it Bell's palsy?
So Bell's palsy is more of a muscular disorder. It's not affected by a clot or a brain bleed or anything like that. Now, it looks similar, because if you've ever seen someone that suffered Bell's palsy, they got the drooping face. And I had a coworker that came to work one day and, wow, Jimmy, what happened? And we thought he had a stroke. He said, no, Bell's palsy.
So that's just a muscle thing?
Absolutely. That's the difference between the two.
No, the face.
The opposite of that, the face, you have the drooping face. Yep, so you might have a mouth that's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can a person have a stroke and not know it?
Yes. So here, let me. That's a great question. So let me go back real quick.
No, you can, and not recognize any symptoms, but you have one and then I mean, a quick one like that.
This is a big source of that.
Yeah.
Transient ischemic attacks. Okay, because they happen, they come and they go. So I got this severe headache or whatever, and my vision's a little blurry, but then it goes away and it clears up. Okay, I'm all good. You actually suffered a mini stroke, which is actually what it's termed.
Symptoms though.
I'm sorry, say again?
Can you have a stroke without any of the symptoms in your brain?
That's usually not common.
Okay.
There's usually at least one or two of those indicators that have revealed themselves. It's just a matter of are we recognizing them? Guys are horrible about this, okay? When you talk about prevalence of strokes in men and women, because, first of all, there's already that a hesitation to actually go to a physician or a doctor. But then you experience it, it goes away. It's like, oh, okay, I'm back to me again. And you don't do anything about it. Yes?
Should you go see the doctor after mini stroke?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You start recognizing those signs. I would not recommend playing with that, hesitating. Get it checked out. It's better to do that than what could actually happen afterwards if you ignore it. And again, like I said, for male pride in a lot of cases, or female pride in some instances, just hesitant to do that.
Does they see it with a CAT scan, or do they need?
Absolutely. Yep. So they can test to see, you can see actually on the screen where that impact has happened, if there is any kind of blood clotting, if there is a brain bleed, that sort of thing. You can get checked out for that. Just let them know exactly what it was that you experienced. Word for word, in as much detail as possible. Don't leave anything out. Even the situation, it was, I was out cutting the lawn, it was pretty hot out, and then I started to feel XYZ. Give them as much detail as possible so they can make it as accurate an assessment as possible and put you on the right treatment plan.
Okay.
Yes?
You said agitation is one too, right? If they get agitated?
That's one of the effects. So when you're having a stroke, a lot of times those emotions are out of whack because there's a lobe within the brain that regulates emotion.
My dad, I said, you can't drive no more. He said, yes, I can. Because, he suffered a stroke when he was driving one day. And he was taking my nephew to school. And my nephew had to grab a stairway because they got in an accident.
Okay.
He was in a state of confusion.
Yeah. Yep. Now, the fact that he said, yes, I can, not necessarily the result of a stroke, all right? So you think about somebody who's been driving all their lives, and you tell them they can't drive no more. You're going to be a little agitated about that, okay? So, but the other things, the other symptoms, yes, that's more likely to, be...
Don't let him drive because my sister, baby sister, take him around. She won't
Okay.
pass the power. And then if I need to take him around, I'll take him to the doctor.
Gotcha.
Like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yes.
I want to ask a question about your wall squats. I've been doing I can hear my heart beating when I'm almost at the end. Should I be concerned about that?
Okay. All right. Now, well, first of all, thank you for doing those wall squats, because that's our month. In my classes we have a monthly health and wellness challenge, and this month it's the wall squat. It might not be the fact that the heart is doing anything different. So, for example, if you're in a room and there's no TV on, no sound, no other people around, that sort of thing, and it's just you doing this wall squat, and all you're doing is focusing on the wall squat. All right, there's nothing to hear, but you're just paying attention to it more. Okay, now if it's associated with I'm feeling dizzy or weak afterwards, or nauseous, or like I'm about to now that's different. Okay, but the fact that you can hear your heart rate, you're just more in tune with your body right now. Because you're thinking about, first of all, you're thinking, man, when is this 60 seconds going to be up? And then you're also, like I said, you're utilizing all the steps that are associated with that, with the lower back into the wall, the shoulders back, arms hanging, the legs in that 90-degree angle. So you got all that going on, but you just focus on that. So that could be more often associated with what you're experiencing.
I have one more question, because you were saying that people can recover from a stroke.
Yes.
I have a niece that had a stroke. She's been incapacitated for about 5 or 6 years from the left side. I don't know if she'll ever recover. What do you think?
It totally subjective. It depends on the severity of the stroke, all the circumstances that surrounded it, how long it took to get treatment. What were some of the warning signs leading up to it? What are the lifestyle habits? Was the person on medication? There's so many factors on there. Without actually doing a direct assessment of an individual or a patient. Anybody that would tell you that is either they don't know what they're talking about or they're just lying to you. Okay? So it's very subjective and specific to the individual patient. But in some cases, with proper, physical therapy, for example, in some cases, medications are required, that sort of thing, and management of the condition, you can recover from that. But again, it depends on the individual and what's going on. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, aneurysm, that's the same as a stroke.
It's a brain bleed, so a blood vessel breaks or bursts. So that would fall under the classification of a hemorrhagic stroke.
So Laurie, what's our focus next month?
For our health and wellness challenge, you got to wait till June. Yeah, you got to wait. But it's going to be a good one. You're going to enjoy it. Yes.
A massive stroke is like the blood clot, right?
Well, ischemic are more common. Okay, I mean they're both life-threatening, so it's not like I had a good stroke. Okay, so I'm not trying. I didn't mean it like that, but.
My mother was in the hospital. She had a massive stroke. And I said, "What is that?"
That just means that maybe multiple organ failure, system failure, paralysis, those sorts of things.
Beat all was her brain. And she suffocated after that.
Oh, so, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap?
I'm sorry to hear that about those big beans.
What's that now?
But I'm sorry to hear that about big beans. I just had some over there.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, and I talk about this in other seminars and that. When you get in the habit of reading those nutrition labels, it tells all the story. Yep. It's just that, like, as a kid, I was never taught to read nutritional labels. I didn't know a thing about it. I just saw the picture on the label or the box, and that looks good. I want it. And when you actually start doing investigation and actually looking at what's in those foods, there's food, there's sugar and salt and fat in foods that you wouldn't even think would have it. Yeah? Absolutely. Absolutely. Any others? Yes.
Kind of long question, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I think on the first screen, you had some things listed. One of them was the defibrillator. I think it was AED or something.
Yes.
Where is it in this building? And can we just use it in case there's an emergency?
Okay.
And is there training for us, because we spend a lot of time here. We spend a lot of time together. So we are all subject to have a heart attack or whatever. And so I think we need to be trained to use that.
That's actually an excellent question. Now, governmental buildings, state-run buildings are required to have defibrillators on site. Staff is supposed to go through training to actually use that. Like I have to recertify every year, and every couple of years and that sort of thing. But actual patrons, unless a class was offered, like a lot of times when you go through CPR training, so like CPR training, if they were to host something, and I could suggest that, you'll have a CPR professional, someone that is trained in basic life support, and they'll conduct classes. So in addition to, life support, like heart compressions and that sort of thing, they'll also go through AED training. So that's usually a part of it. But that's a good suggestion. I can actually bring that up to the staff. Very good question and suggestion. Yep.
What about this medication that most of us that have blood pressure?
That's a whole another conversation.
I'm really concerned about this metformin that I'm taking, because you hear so much negativity about it.
If you were to Google metformin,
Well, you need to continue to take metformin, you know.
okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that. And I've actually done a whole seminar on medications and prescription drugs and that sort of thing.
Because in place of metformin, you hear on the internet about this stuff called berberine. You know, and I'm saying to myself, well, maybe I should just try it out.
Look at the side effects of that one also, because there are no prescription medications that are without side effects, especially when you're talking about contraindications. And that basically means that I'm taking this drug, metformin in that example, but I'm also taking these other two. Okay, so what effect does that metformin have on these other two? Does it decrease its effectiveness? Does it cause other complications? So that's a big part of that. So you kind of have to be your own best advocate for that by asking the doctor, well, why am I being prescribed metformin? Why did you prescribe this dosage? Are you familiar with these other medications that I'm taking?
Mine was a 500 milligram 4 times a day, and I said to myself,
So 1,000 milligrams. Did you hear what she just said? She's taking 1,000 milligrams of metformin per day.
Oh, that's good.
no, I'm taking more than that. He wanted me to take it 4 times a day.
Right, so you said, so 250 did you say, or 500?
I think it says 500.
Oh, so that's 2,000 milligrams.
Yeah, and so, you know, I said, the heck with this, I'm not taking that medicine.
Yeah.
I mean, I still take it, but I only take 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. I'm not taking, you know, those 4.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you think you could do that pharmacy class again?
I don't see why not. Yeah. Yeah. I probably get more questions about that one than anything else. And it always updates because the reason why that changes so much is because there's always new information coming out about certain drugs. So, you know, that presentation I did back in, I can't remember if that was November or October, was it? Okay, so there's so much of that that's been updated and revised already. So yeah, so without side effects? Honestly, none that I know of. Now severity might be significantly diminished based on the medication, but yeah. So.
Take 1 aspirin a day. That a good idea? Baby aspirin.
No, okay, baby, and you're taking that. So why are you taking it?
I'm taking it every day. One baby aspirin.
Okay, I mean that's in most cases that's a good thing, but it's a matter of why you're taking it.
I guess help my cholesterol.
Okay, so what I would do is I make sure you're tracking your cholesterol levels, seeing how it's being impacted by the intake of the baby aspirin, and if you're not seeing any change, or if you are seeing changes, do I need to continue with it? Can I discontinue it? That sort of thing.
My doctor knows I'm taking it.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to tell him all the medication you're taking.
Yeah.
And I let him know. He never said stop.
Okay. And he should be monitoring your cholesterol levels through the blood test when you go in for your daily checkups anyway. So I would just say monitor it and see how it's impacting your body and that. Okay. All right. So I appreciate everybody's attention. That was fantastic. I hope we got some good information out there. And like I said, again, if anyone who wants to reach out and contact me or whatever, I got my information here. Oh, okay, good. And that's also social media. So next month, let's see, that session is going to be on the, I don't have my calendar open, but I'll tell you in just a second.
You have always some good seminars.
That's the 23rd, you said? So, okay, so June, yes, that's the 23rd of June will be the next seminar. And I can tell you right now, I do know what that one is going to be. So basically talking about arthritis, how to manage it. Yeah, some folks call it old Arthur. So both rheumatoid and osteo. Okay, so we're really going to be covering that, how it's impacted by lifestyle changes, how to manage it, different exercises that you can do on a therapeutic level to help to manage that. So all that information is going to be in that seminar. So osteo.
And the bone, is that the bone?
Yes, it is. Yep. Osteo basically means bone. And then rheumatoid is a joint. So I will see you all hopefully back for that next one on the 23rd of Tuesday. I'm not sure how long they allow before you can actually register for it, but I'd say sign up as soon as you can. And enjoy the rest of your day. Got some nice weather out there. I'll see you all in class or whatever. She's back. How you doing? You good?